Everybody, welcome to the panel discussion called Culture and Defense, Different Tools, Same Purpose. So my name is Aljona Suržikova, and maybe first of all I will introduce myself, then I maybe become less nervous, because I used to talk in Estonian a lot, but in English not so often. So introducing myself maybe makes me more calm, then I will come to the topic. So I was born in Estonia in 1982, but my parents came to Estonia from Ukraine in 70s. So Ukraine was always the country where we spent our summer, and I know this culture and I know the people there very well. I'm a filmmaker and I do documentaries. This is my daily work. But if you stop people in the street, everybody will say, "Oi, Käru tädi, mis sina siin teed?" Hello, Käru woman, what are you doing here? Because in 2018, I started a museum in a small village called Käru, and it's Baby Prem's museums. And it's very popular in Estonia because it's called Prem Museum in Prem village. It's very funny. And this is 100% voluntary organization working with the volunteers, and this is an example of how the citizen society works, how we create the culture, how we protect the culture, how we do something what is important. And when the war started, we are not the soldiers, we don't know what to do. And I mean the full-scale invasion in Ukraine. We just took our cameras and we went there. And we did few films started from 2022. And every time when we filmed and the film was released, our company, Dia Film, and our webpage of Käru Museum was hacked by Russian hackers. My webpage in Facebook was hacked. All the accounts was hacked. So it's very, very connected. You do the film, you tell the truth, and they try to destroy you. It's very easy. But Ukrainians always say, if you are afraid, then you help the enemies. If you are sad, you help the enemies. You don't need to be sad, you need to be happy, and you need to laugh. And if you laugh, then it makes you strong. And I think one of the weapons of Ukrainian army is humor and sense of humor. We will talk about the people about this topic. So this panel is organized by the Nordic Council of Ministers Office in Estonia, Danish Institute, Danish Cultural Institute in Latvia, Estonia, and Lithuania, and as well Danish Embassy in Estonia. And the line between so-called soft and hard security is becoming very blurred. Yeah? Oh no. If we compare what happened 35 years ago, and this Nordic cooperation changed security situation in our region. Now we think, what is the role of culture and defense today? And where and how the strategic fields merge? Exactly after the panel, we have the workshop, which Anna will do, and the workshop will about the cultural prepping now. An open hands workshop inspired by cultural first aid kit developed by Danish Cultural Institute, and it will explore the culture, creativity and community, how they can straighten resilient in time of pressure and change. So they will use recycled materials and create some art and different culture. Yes?
An art piece out of an everyday hanger. It's from the dry cleaning.
Yes, soon we will open the panel, so this will be very exciting just after the panel. And to open the conversation, I would like to retell about the Nordic Baltic declaration about culture and security. Actually, the topic of this declaration is very easy. The first, art protect us, and open and creative freedom helps counter fake news, division, and authoritarian control. the second part of the declaration says that shared culture keeps us stronger. Our heritage gives us possibility to have this heritage, and to protect something you need to have something. So, and the third, protecting our culture, we're protecting ourselves. So now I would like to introduce, maybe you will introduce yourself better. Sorry. Anna is from Danish Cultural Institute, and maybe you will retell about your background and connection between defense and culture, and then we talk with Visti and Julitta. So, please.
Thank you so much for the introduction. Yeah, my name is Anna Enemark. I'm a regional director of Danish Cultural Institute in the Baltic states. We have office in Riga. And the reason why I'm here today is that, as some politicians have mentioned recently, we are not at war, but we do not live in peace either. We have come to a point where we have to join forces. We have to break down silos. Everybody must and can contribute to make stronger, resilient societies. And I discovered quite quickly that the cultural sector and defense sector has much more in common than I ever thought. And I'm still on this journey to explore how can we inspire and support each other, because I'm convinced that we are fighting for the same goals, but from different angles. And exactly as Maria said, security is a prism, and we can look through it with the glasses that each of us have. So, yeah, thank you. Maybe, yeah.
It works. First of all, thank you very much also to the Nordic Council of Ministers for having this discussion. When I was first asked to join this discussion, I thought, okay, this is a little bit off the normal topic that I would discuss. But as we, Anna and I and others, we kind of had this talk over several meetings or several engagements, and it became more and more clear to me that this is both an important but also a very interesting way of looking at security to actually encompass a cultural perspective or prism, use that prism. So thank you for having me. My name is Visti Salomonsen. I am a Danish naval officer. It might be pretty obvious. I am deployed in the Baltic state as the Danish Defense Attaché. That's what I do currently. And by that, I travel throughout the Baltic states very often and meet all the three different cultures, and they are very different, but also people and entities in themselves. My career has been quite diverse. I've been deployed throughout the Kingdom of Denmark. That means Greenland, Faroe Islands, and obviously also in Denmark, which also alone inside the Danish, with a Danish perspective, has a lot of interesting cultural aspects to it. Then I've been deployed internationally in several occasions, and I can truly say that I've met professionally met military and civilian entities and people throughout the world. And it has been a really interesting thing. And I can also disclose to you, which is probably not a big secret, that there are such a huge difference between if you are Estonian, if you are from Djibouti in Africa, if you're from Iraq, if you are from Australia, to the way that you combine culture and military history, based on your national history, your norms, your national governments, and the heritage that you have with it. It really, really affects societies and people behavior, and the preferences in day-to-day social engagements. But that said, what is very, very true is that there is a commonality in all nations on this subject, is that they feed off each other. Military culture, military perspectives are the child of culture and feeds back to culture that then develops into something new continuously. So they are definitely, culture and military or defense of a nation is inseparable. And it's in this context, we are now today talking about the same tool or different tools for the same purpose. This kind of sets a framework wherein these two domains are needs to meet when we talk about it. I'm sure that, and I'm convinced that there are individual purposes for culture as such outside of that framework. But today, this is the topic that we're gonna discuss. And within this topic, I see a circular combination or a circular connection between the two. First of all, on the defense side, we are fighting to be able to have an independent country with its independent history, heritage, and culture. This is what motivates us. This is what brings purpose. It's not only the military, it is the government as such that kind of provides that to us in a democracy, that we have to do that. But this brings purpose, motivation, and it brings the identity that we have also in the military, and that is what we fight for. The other way around, on the cultural side, if you have a high amount of awareness of your culture, what is interesting. Simple example, in Denmark we have had for many years on the cultural side a big success in making movies. Other nations, and this might be a simplification, but as I go around in the Baltic states, you are immensely good at having song festivals as a thing that is here, that you also promote internationally. So culture is something that is in there. But if you have a strong awareness of it, an understanding of what it is, your heritage is, it will definitely bring resilience to the society because you want to uphold this. It will bring stamina if you are under pressure for the society as a whole, as people individually, institution as well. And that feeds back to what is the military doing in defense of a nation. It wants to defend this. So that's how it's connected, and this is the main perspective, and I think it's a very interesting discussion. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Visti. So we have one more panelist, Julitta Khlystun, who has a PhD in cultural studies, and she's from Ukraine, living in Narva, working in Narva Museum. Please say us more about your background, about your vision of the topic. It's working.
Thank you very much, Aljona. I want to say, first of all, that I'm very thankful for your invitation, and I'm very glad to be part of this event. And this topic devoted to culture and defense is very close to me because I'm from Ukraine and I'm from the east of Ukraine, and I have been living in Estonia for 4.5 years. And in 2020, I started studying in a doctoral program of cultural studies in Volodymyr Dali East Ukrainian National University, and my doctoral work was devoted to painting program of Orthodox churches that are located on the east of Ukraine, especially in Donetsk region, in Luhansk, and in Kharkiv region. And even in 2022, I noticed that part of churches from my research was bombed and ruined, and now a lot of them are ruins. And also my work is evidence in some way of cultural heritage that we had, this sacred heritage that we had such churches with such paintings. And it's also very important for understanding how culture and defense are connected. And Another topic, another question will be connected to this place where I live now. I live in Narva city, and also it's a very difficult city with difficult historian background, with complicated, and it's a very interesting question to speak about it. Thank you, Alu.
Yeah. Anna, how do you think how your work changed during these years of big war in Ukraine, and now in Baltics, you work in Baltic states, the situation is different. Is the cultural projects different from that one what was in other time? Oh.
Yeah, I would say that for many years I worked in the cultural sector, but within the government. So I've always kind of used culture in an instrumental way to create good relations between nations. And I have also a past in UNESCO. And in UNESCO, when it was founded, somebody put on the wall in the headquarters in Paris, it says, "Since war begins in the minds of men and women, it is in the minds of men and women that the defense for peace must be constructed." So there was this notion that if we could just inform, enlighten, educate, make it people able to exchange ideas across borders, then we could fight mistrust, build strong relation, and keep peace. And this is what we have been believing for so many years. And in my past, I worked actually in the Nordic Council of Ministers. We had office in northwest Russia, 5 places. And we had also offices like now in the Baltic states. And there was a huge effort to integrate northwest Russia into the Baltics and the European and the Nordic sphere. And often it was culture and education, and which was like founded the basis for that. For instance, in Nordic Council of Ministers, the budget for culture and education is much bigger, or at least it was, than the other fields of politics, because it was acknowledged that culture, education, this exchange idea is like constituting this kind of cooperation, intergovernmental cooperation. And we really believe that for many years, and that has also formed the institute's work, that we have been working with building resilient societies, and we have continued this building on democracy, international rule of law, human rights, and everything went well, we think, and was evolving positively. But then things dramatically changed. And now it has also very much influenced the work we do in the Cultural Institute. And I would say that I come from a sector where we have been looking at military as something like the evil, yeah, actually, and just spending money on something which was completely worthless because it was so far away from what we represented, we thought. And now I must say that I have really learned new lessons. And how did it change our work? I mean, we have actually changed all our priorities, I would say. And we have this headline, security as a prism. And I would say that one very concrete example, and what was really enlightening for me, was that we have had 3 states visit. Our king and queen from Denmark, they came and visit first Riga, Latvia in October last year, and then quickly after it was decided that they should go to Estonia, Lithuania. And I think it's quite remarkable that with 3 state visits so rapidly after each other. And what was significant, especially in Latvia and Lithuania, was that the military part of the visit, the elements referring to the defense sector and military, and the events and activities related to culture, they had the same weight. And that was for me really eye-opening, that we both come and confirm our close relations, both that we share values like democracy, but at the same time we stick together, we are stronger together, also in the means of military forces. So that was really an eye-opener to see how much is culture and defense interlinked, even at a state visit. Yeah.
Because you talked so much about the culture, I will ask Julia first. Julia, we see in this war how Russia destroys the cultural heritage, and it's not just destroying the buildings, it's destroying the identity. It's like stealing the identity. What do you think about the topic?
Thank you for your question. It's very, very important question about identity, because when we're speaking about defending of a culture of country, we don't only should speak about physical defending, and it's not only physical destruction of buildings, of different objects, museums, churches, libraries, but also a very important question about stealing of identity, because thief identity or appropriation of heritage, as that we see now that Russia does, and we have a lot of examples how they told about such history and about different artists, different writers, that they are not Ukrainian, they are Russian. It always be like Russian, but also a lot of destruction. I took my statistics, and by May 2026, Ukrainian Ministry of Culture reported 1,783 damaged cultural heritage sites and 2,540 damaged cultural infrastructure facilities. And UNESCO has also verified more than 500 damaged cultural sites, including religious buildings, museums, libraries, monuments, and archives. And even in Roman Empire, such deals was war criminals, and that many people are dying. It also was war criminal, but
I would like to add in this topic that in this time when they destroy the Ukrainian museums in Russia, they created their SVO, which means the War Museum, which is visual, and like they have this like books, they sell it to every region and created the museum, like propaganda museum of the war, and it's about 500 museums through the Russia. And they share this like totally different way, like creating totally different like mentality, and people living in there, they even cannot imagine that this is not true, because there is so strong propaganda physically coming to the schools, coming to this museum creation, to the television and all these topics. So if you talk not only from the things what they create, and they create create the fake culture, which is continue of the Soviet Union history. Like we know that they always rewrote the history and wrote their own version of this of the events. But Visti, I would like to ask you, if we talk about counter and defense, like to have strong like military, or have like we need to have something to protect. Like we need to have this culture, right? This is like the main idea, to be strong. This is something what you said about our song festival and about all these common things what unite us, like having the free speech. In all this huge democracy festival, in Arvamus Festival, we have only one Russian language scene which Nordic country organize. And this is kind of the real example of democracy, I mean, because we have 300,000 people speaking Russian and only one little page makes your, like real democracy developed countries like support this, so please.
Yep, thank you. And I will say initially I would say the stories, the statistics, it does tell a story about what is the end goal, what is the idea of the aggression that we see in Ukraine. Obviously, it is to kind of destroy that history and be able to bend our common understanding of ourselves. And this is directly back to the big military thinkers throughout history, that in order to obtain your goal militarily, or your to invade and conquer something, you need to break the center of gravity is to break the will of the people. And this is a true example of how do you break the will of the people. Well, you make hardship, you make terror bombings, but you also start to destroy some of the history, because that is what defines you. If you take that definition away, maybe not for the ones fighting right now, but definitely once you move into those areas, then you will have the upper hand of that area and it will be subdued. You will have easier to actually hold that area as the thing you have conquered. So it's in military terms, it's quite logical to have this thinking. However, it's also been very obvious especially since Second World War, that we thought we hoped that the world had moved on, and this is why we have had conventions on this, the 54 Hague Convention, or the Hague Convention, which talks about the law of armed conflict in regards to cultural sites and cultural heritage, where it forbids the actual targeting of these things. So we thought we had moved on, and I think this is what we actually do in the military. We do take into consideration in our planning of actual tactical moves and tactical engagement that there are cultural sites, physical, especially since it's kinetic. Normally, what we talk about in this sense, that we have to plan around it. We have to think about it. We have to maybe place our defense somewhere outside, away from that, so it will not be collateral damage, and so on and so forth. And if we do offensive, defensive operations, meaning that we'll try to push back, we still have to consider this. At least that is what what has been taught, and everybody in NATO has been trained to observe this as we do the planning. So we do this. But there has to be a defense against it. So how do we do this? And again, there are at least two domains here. There is the kinetic domain, and there is the cognitive domain. Cognitive domain is where we kind of on our, not against ourselves, but for ourselves, go out in what we call civilian military action, where we kind of go out to make sure that the civilian society knows what is going to happen, to the extent that we can disclose this security-wise. We kind of help them transport people away, to some extent, if possible, give the time to also salvage maybe physical things on a cultural side. So that is part of the planning, and then of course there is the kinetic part where we can do things. We can try to plan around it. We can try to make the targets less attractive, and so on. Outside of that, in terms of maybe not immediate combat, or in the terms of times where crisis is arising, it could be if it gets even more intense with hybrid activities. We saw it in Donbass, we saw it in Luhansk. The grey men, as we talked about back then, they come in and they sabotage, they destroy cultural sites, burial grounds, stuff like that. We have local core, local military, state run or governed militias around, especially in the Baltic states. You're very strong in this area. That has the task to observe what's going on in the immediate local area. And these entities, these small units, also is an opportunity to ensure that as little as possible happens in times of crisis, and also in war, to those cultural things. So on the defense side, specifically towards, and most probably towards the physical part of the cultural heritage, there are opportunities and there are stringent directions that we have to follow, at least on our side. The challenge obviously is that our enemy right now does not follow that at all, and that is truly sad. Yeah.
No, I think that in Estonia, this voluntary organization helping the military, Kaitseliit, is not a small, it's a quite big organization. And when we got our independence 100 years ago, so this was the main role in this war, when there was a lot of volunteers. It's the same in Ukraine. There were a lot of local volunteers when the war started, and everybody ran to protect their villages and their libraries and their places. So I will ask Anna later. Now I ask Julia, what is the situation in Narva? You are coming from Ukraine, getting to such a to a neighbor country. You see the Russia from your window if you work in Narva Museum. So how do you feel there, and what is the atmosphere? I see you have some newspapers with your so.
Narva is a very specific city, and also when we are speaking about propaganda, Narva is under it, and also I decided to take for our discussion one example of a newspaper that I get every week in my post box, The City. You also could take and watch, and every such newspaper has a TV program for Russian channels, and also this newspaper in Russian language, and people who every day are looking for such channels, they are under Russian narratives. And there I want to remember one book that was written by American philosopher from Yale, Jason Stanley. This book is called How Propaganda Works. And he has one main idea, not one, but one of the point idea about using language of propaganda. Propaganda use very good language with words like freedom, democracy, tradition, and others such, but in another way. In the way against other tradition, against other freedom, democracy, and also propaganda used to be only in a very narrow one way. And use one example only. You could have only such identity and no complicated past. in some way it's very important. And also I want to speak about another one book that helped to understand this situation now, not in Narva only, but in the world. It was written more than 40 years ago by Italian economist historian Carlo Cipolla. He wrote the book called The Fundamental Laws of Human Stupidity. And he told that stupidness is a very harmful way, not for society, but also for a person himself. And I want to continue speaking that Anna started that culture and education is our tool, is our weapon against this stupidness, against foolishness. And also the author Carlo Cipolla told about these laws that everyone really doesn't know number of stupid people around him, and everyone think they are lack of, but not understand how much they are. And also when we're speaking about such feature of not only character but of person's mind, we shouldn't think that in some way it's innocent or weakness, because it's not right to think, oh, it's nothing. God doesn't give him mind, and it's nothing that person is full. It's very big harm to everyone in this world, and culture is our tool, really.
Yeah, because of Russian propaganda, our society is very divided. And already in 2007, when was the Bronze Night in Estonia, in Tallinn, our society became very divided. I mean, like Russian-speaking society, Estonian society, you know, like working in cultural sector. And now Narva may be even more like divided from all other Estonia. But Anna, how do you think can culture and art and like the project you create and do, like, unite people? Can the situation be changed in future, or what can we do?
Thank you. I would like to comment on this notion that we say that there is soft power and hard power, because there is nothing soft about soft power. And that also referring to what Julia said, that how important language is and how language can change narratives and perceptions of history. And I think that, to answer your question maybe, I think that actually Nordic Council of Ministers is an intergovernmental corporation, and it was formed in 52. It started with the parliamentarians, and then in 72 also the ministers formed a council. And I think that it's a good example of this having long-term cooperation and long-term partnerships, build trust and strong relation. And it's very easy to see how easy it is to reach out and to cooperate within the Nordic Baltic family, because we have built this trust. And it have been nurtured by numerous cultural and educational projects. Of course, also projects in other sectors, but art and culture has had a significant role in building bridges between the Nordics and the Baltics. And very fast we made a Nordic-Baltic mobility program for art and culture. And it was decided that it should be on a mutual footing, and I think that this the long-term perspective programs, also the Nordic houses and offices here in the Baltics, that something is stable and can continuously, confirm our commitment to each other. That's extremely important. And I think it's really sad that the intergovernmental cooperation and the multilateral cooperation in general has not been prioritized, at least not from Danish side, but that is changing now. And we now really see the value. Also when we planned the state visit, it was, quite, I would not say easy, it was complex, but the trust was in place. So the Danish side and the Baltic sides, they could easily agree on the format and the concept and the security and everything. And that is because we invested in this for a long period, and that builds trust.
If you have some question, you can raise your hand, because we are already 45 minutes talking. And if you have a question, so please, you can ask, and then we continue, because it comes very fast.
Hi, thank you everyone for the very interesting panel. My name is Enemark. I work here for the Estonian Ministry of Foreign Affairs as a science advisor. One of the topics I work on a lot related to South Bar is research security, which has become a more and more important topic. And so one of the discussions that we've been having on the level of the European Union is that for the past 40, 50 years, we've kind of worked on the assumption that in post-war Europe, science should flow freely, education should flow freely, and I think specifically when it came to Russia, there was this understanding that, only if we can get the Russian elites to come to Europe and learn our liberal democratic values, then it will take them home and turn Russia into a modern democratic state. Well, obviously, that hasn't happened. And so one of the topics that we've been discussing is, okay, so how can we be more careful, not only about who we let in, but also what kind of information goes out? And one of the questions that I had, looking at the name of the panel, Culture and Defense, how about Culture and Offense? How can we make sure that, or is there a way to make sure that the way we export culture actually serves our foreign policy objectives?
To whom is this question? To Visti?
Anyone.
Okay. Visti maybe knows better answer.
No, I wouldn't say I know a direct answer, but we are struggling, and the perspective of trying to turn something around or do the same kind of trying to create effects inside Russia, as they try to steal the narrative, or he who owns the narrative owns the truth, and so on and so forth. We are continuously in a dilemma. As you point out, because we stand on the international rule-based platform. This is us. We need that. That is what we fight for. As outside of anything else, this is what we fight for. That includes also research. That also includes the means and ways that you promote these things. That should be, by default, it should be free and open and accessible to all who wants it, but not something that you shove in a particular manner down the throat of somebody who doesn't want it, but with the intent, or especially with the intent to try to affect somebody to think differently or behave differently. So we are in a big dilemma, because this is not in our nature, and it does take, in my opinion, quite a firm change of paradigm or shift in mindset from our side if we are to change that significantly, because we are still in a place where we want the war with Russia in Ukraine to stop. We want to restore the international borders. We want to punish Russia to pay penance after the war, meaning and everything that we do is kind of we are still pursuing to get back to status quo as it was, or even maybe a little bit better, hopefully. But that's what we are pursuing. And as long as we pursue that, what I see in military planning, what I see in military discussion, maybe not so much in military planning. That is not something I'm deeply involved in. So that would be a step too far for my side to claim I know this. But but at least what I see in the discussions on between the military entities around is that it continues to be something we are basing our things on the rule-based situation that we have had for 80 years or more, and this is the platform we stand for. So it will take a lot of political will to change us into trying to push that, and that is only the will to do so. Then how to do it? Right now, what we just talked about before, sadly, right now, the calculus of what we have to do stands completely still. We have to be a hard target. We have to show and deter Russia from doing anything against us. We struggle with the hybrid activities because we are still, we don't want to appropriate it too fast, too soon. It's a big dilemma. Sorry, I don't have any concrete answers to it. But research, as you know, in the same manner, could be used as songs, as having the car, having access to free schools and such. But as if you don't have an audience that is willing to accept that as something to strive for, it is super difficult. And that shift, good question. Sorry. Yeah.
Anna, Julitta, do you want to add something?
I mean, I can see that at least for the Danish side that I imagine that I can feel that there is the Ministry of Foreign Affairs are getting more and more interested in linking culture to do cultural diplomacy, so to say, not only public diplomacy but cultural diplomacy, and to invest more in it, because it is really, really important. Also to, I think, legitimize the spendings on military forces. It's very important also to have other sectors along and supporting. Yeah. And one thing I would like to add, and maybe it's a little out of this question, but I just want to mention that I have actually, I'm very inspired by the military approach, thinking in scenarios, because I think that sometimes from the cultural sector we tend to speak a lot about how can we enlighten people, how can we create hope and resilience, community. But I think that this that we also have to think in scenarios, and I think that we lack a plan, for instance, for cultural institutions when the crisis, if or when it will hit. How will the cultural institutions act? Do they have a plan B, not only to protect the cultural heritage, the buildings and the artifacts, but also how can they play an active role as shelter, as community center, as some, you could say, cultural storage where people can go and fetch some culture when the normal lines are cut off. So I think we have a lot to learn from the military.
Yeah, but just thanks. Just a comment to that, the scenario-based approach to things to be discussed. But I do agree with you that it's seen, and I'm not no cultural visit at all. I go to a museum and I watch sports. I love to go to a concert, and from time to time I do visit an art exhibition, but and go to heritage sites. But what would be beneficial, at least, would to have an idea of how do we continue. This is also something that is in the declaration of the Nordic ministers. How do we continue to be able to have cultural events during time of crisis, and especially during time of actual war or conflict, because that is so important to have that alternative, that bright, funny, interesting moment in times of deep stress. So that is something that definitely I see could be a way, or could be something that the Cultural Institute, the cultural community could work for, in order to have those contingency thinking of how do we continue this. I know as a military guy, artifacts are important. Look at me, I have all sorts of things and stuff on my uniform. It is super important, but it's equally important that the soldier from time to time forgets that his comrade was wounded, and then get to hear a stand-up comedy show, or have the opportunity to watch a football game, or even engage in an ice hockey game against some friendly unit, and so on and so forth. So yes, absolutely interesting point. Thank you.
There is many topics what we can study from the army. Actually, I'm making a film about the veterans, and it's very hard topic, because after the war, all the guys are very traumatized. And one of the guy, he created the company Combat Ready, and they teach civilians react like in the military. Why people are so bad feeling after the war? Because they don't have this unity, they don't have these rules, they don't have these reactions, they don't have the enemy, and because here's everybody can be your enemy, and everybody can be your. You don't know how to react. You don't have these straight rules. So. There is one question. Oh, there is more questions. There's more questions, and I have a lot of questions as well. Maybe I ask Julia, because we was talking. She's a theology researcher, and the church is playing very important role. She will answer the question: how is it having this Orthodox Russia bombing the Kievo-Pechorskaya Lavra and the main Orthodox cultural object in the world? What is the role of the church and religion?
For such important
and
question.
Then we come to your questions.
And I think that maybe everyone heard that Russian Orthodox Patriarch Kirill told that the war against Ukraine is a holy war. And also some people who believe such propaganda told that on the territories that now are occupied of Russia, the territories of Ukraine, that they will have right church, but on another territory the church isn't right, and it's not to be right in such churches, but they don't see the thing that on such cities like Bakhmut, like Vuhledar, like Marinka, like Avdiivka, there are no people. How we could speak about church or about right church where now nobody almost live there. Before war started, there were living about 1,000 and tens of thousands people, but if we only imagine that someday in future somebody goes to this territory and build houses and live here, why we could be confident that they will be believers, that they will be Orthodox believers, not atheists, not because it's a very realistic thing that not 100% of Ukrainians are Orthodox believers. Also, there are Protestants and Greek Catholics, Catholics, and from other confession people. Why? And people doesn't get such questions. Only could repeat that propaganda thoughts, and for us not only culture and education could be defense and tool for defense, but also rationality and thinking rational also.
Yeah, there is as well a question. Okay.
Thank you. Hello, my name is Cristiano. Thank you, Julia. I didn't know Mario Cipolla. I'm from Italy, so thank you very much. Very interesting. My question is for everybody. It's more an opinion, but I would like to hear your opinion about this. I'm a teacher, and I'm very worried about how to make young people understand what is going on today, and especially now my country has just invested 15 million euros in weapons. And I don't think that we are investing much money in education and culture in the schools, because in my opinion, if you want to avoid that future wars or future conflicts, we have to educate our children in understanding that this is not right. We should make something about that, and starting when they are very young. Like, for example, Aljona, you're a director, and making movies, for example, is very important, especially today when young people are always watching something on TV, Instagram, whatever. Videos are very important, so that could be a very good way to educate them in understanding that war is wrong and making people suffer is wrong. I'm talking about my country here. I don't think that my country is investing now in education. We are not putting money in that, and for me it's very important, because if we don't do that, we shall have wars also in the future, not just now. Thank you.
Yeah, I had 3 questions in similar ways. That we talk about defense. The defense budgets are growing up very fast, and if we need to cut, then we cut always culture. All the films and all the libraries and everybody. It's everywhere the same. Please, who wants to answer?
I can give it a shot anyway, as we would say. So obviously, education of people, youngsters, but people as a whole, the educational part is one of our absolute strongest thing that we stand on in our countries. That goes from Italy to Denmark to Germany to all of the nations that we kind of relate to. Whether that also is across the Atlantic. So all the countries that abide to the thinking and rules of or interconnectedness that we have stands on a well-educated population. So obviously it has to continue to have the priority necessary. That said, I actually think we see examples of where education and crisis goes hand in hand quite significantly and in a good way. That does not solve your problem, sir, with underfunding or what you see as underfunding right now. But if you take the example of Estonia, you have Khlystun, which is right now also expanding, has been expanding for some years into the younger groups of kids. So they are getting educated. It's not necessarily about Michelangelo or international trade, but at least it's about democracy. It's about your skills within self-preservation, kind of like Scouts, but with a topped off with a little bit of military inspiration on that. We go to Latvia. They have introduced defense training or mandatory defense and democracy training in high schools, first and second year, 1 day a month. Where they train and educate also in those same areas. What are your rights? But most importantly, what do you need to do? What do we demand from you, from society? So those are examples of where there is a hybrid or a merge between the needs in a crisis situation and the educational area. So I think we see examples. That does not necessarily balance out that there are most probably are seen around Europe, at least, tendency to kind of prioritize military spendings over continued reforms within other areas.
We have one more question.
Yeah, sorry. So and that's a political prioritization. So that's how it is.
Please, sorry.
Hey, so I've seen defense communication through public sector and as a conscript, and it feels like for the past few years, at least in Estonia, the way defense sector has been instrumentalizing culture, you could say, has been with the goal to manufacture consent for higher defense budget, and also to make the topic significantly softer. We can see that through the camouflage pattern being on ice creams, snacks, Bolt scooters. There are more than a handful of people walking around through this festival, but Estonian towns in general with their reserve forces shirts, voluntarily. We have defense classes in schools. It's become a significantly bigger topic. There are movies now being made about defense, you name it. So my question comes from pure curiosity. Do you think in peacetime it's possible to go too far with instrumentalizing culture for defense? And do you think it's possible to measure this resilience that we're talking about? Is there a moment we could be like, hey, clearly the people are resilient enough, they're willing to defend the country enough, we can stop amplifying the topic? Or do you think this is a never stopping topic and something we constantly have to pay attention to? Thank you.
I would like to live in peaceful life, but it's very hard that we are living in a wartime.
I mean, it's a really hard question, because I was thinking about this, that you wrote in the questions, that how can we justify the expenditures on culture, how can we measure it? But I would also turn it around and say, but in Ukraine, for instance, I have this perception that actually the feeling of community and the hope and the resilience among the civil society and the citizens are actually keeping up the momentum of the war. And if we didn't invest in this resilience, then the war would end much quicker, because you would actually lose life. Yeah.
Thank you for the question, if I may. I'll try to keep it short, but but it's a really good question. Is there a balance? Is there somewhere where we are still in peacetime? But again, the pressure in this region against Estonia as well as the other Baltic states is significant, and that has been recognized by governments, by intelligence services, by leading people, and also government as such. This is recognized throughout NATO. This is recognized in EU, and so on and so forth. So definitely, it's a good question to see if there is a balance. But I would say that the question could come, and this might not be the case, but I see the question coming up. It might be related to battle fatigue, if I may say so. We've been living under this elevated kind of visualization and talks about the crisis, especially ever since the war started in Ukraine. And it has just become a little bit numbing. But every agreed result of discussion goes back to we still need to do more. But I fully understand that if you're in the age that you have to become a conscript, or if you are eligible in the age to join the army, you will be targeted rather specifically, and you will see this everywhere. So it's basically society sees it as necessary to try to continue this campaign, because we need more, and we need also to make sure that it is heard all around. To try to do it in the manner of the people that they want to reach. Yes, there must be a balance, but right now it is not reached if you talk to the authorities, and that's why you see it in this way. It's quite specific. On the other topic, can we measure resilience? Yes, we can. It is being measured in yearly or bi-yearly surveys, also in Estonia, and you can see the results of cross-government readiness exercises, so on and so forth. So yes, you can measure it, and it's getting better, but it's not to the level that we would want it to yet, as I'm told from the authorities here.
I see Julia wanted to add something, please.
I think that it's a very important and practical question if in future we will have some common projects between cultural institutions and military and defense, because we need to analyze different kind of risks and to have different kind of plans how to we could save our heritage, and not only material but also other kind of heritage.
Yeah. So we need to finish the panel. I see there's more questions, but we're already going out of the time, and Anna will make the workshop after the panel, or we have time for the last question. Can somebody from organizer say, yeah? Yeah. So we have the last question, and then we will have, yeah.
Hello, I'm Russell Snyder, and does anybody remember something called the Cold War?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, so during the Cold War, I had a job as a civilian. I worked in 2 American Army bases in Germany. My job was called Morale Support Activities, sometimes known as recreation services. Excuse me. We organized sports, family activities, bowling, hiking, skiing, and opportunities to meet up with the German community. And so I witnessed myself that the 2, military and the recreation, which is culture, could manage to work together. They put a lot of effort into it, and I know there's some cuts being made in the United States right now, but in those days, there was a big threat, even more than now. And this allowed people to relax and learn something new, so that after they got out of the army, they learned new hobbies, new activities, so the 2 can work together, as I have seen. That's just my observation. So if you have anything to say about that, go ahead.
Yeah, there is another question now. Maybe we ask another question. Thank you very much for your experience. It's very interesting.
Hi, thank you. I'm from Czech Republic, and I find this connecting 2 different fields really interesting, because I never thought about it as some complex system. And my question is that last year when I was in Estonia, I saw that the army had on a village day some events for kids. And the question is, do you have like any other good practices how to connect like these two completely different words for me? Because in our country, we don't really combine these 2 words. Maybe having like a marching band of armies on some cultural events, but that's it. But everything I heard from you sounds pretty inspiring, so I would be glad if you give me some tips.
No, I think we have our army quite often integrated in different cultural events. Like big events are always with the support of army, and they often come out when we have independent days. For example, we have our army in the main squares everywhere, and we show our army soldiers and people, and everybody can go and look, and people like it to go to some machines. And as well, when there is a veteran day in 2nd of April in Tallinn, then there is as well a lot of activities for kids, and then the guys who was really in war, they retell the stories and show the pictures and share the experience. So I don't know.
It's a really good question you put, and actually Visti and I discussed it the other day, because in Denmark, we have this tendency to say, oh, we have to protect the children. They must not know anything about what's going on. And then we actually deprive them the opportunity to be prepared for a crisis. And if you start while we are in peacetime, and hopefully will stay, and that you will link defense, military to democracy and to security. It will be, I think, a good path to go. And I could imagine to make a lot of activities targeted children, where it was not only to see some really awesome machine guns and be He-Man, but instead of talking about in times of crisis, what do you do as a single person and as a community? And I heard one scientist saying that local like community and that you have relations is more important that you have cans of tins, tin cans of food in your basement. So that is what we have to learn them to handle the unpredictable situation. Yeah, and if I may end up with my because we had this we talked about prepping for the basement, to have water, to have batteries, candlelights, and so forth. And then I decided to make a cultural first aid kit. So this is actually an empty box. And it says a cultural first aid kit, your rescue when there is an extra need for inspiration, hope, and community. So the idea is that we need to have also cultural storage in the basement, and the storage can consist of many different things. But one of the things is the cultural practices that we all have at hand. We can sing, we can tell jokes, we can tell stories, and we can also be creative, but for with what we have at hand, and that is what we are going to do in the workshop. But I would like to thank my panelists and moderator by gifting them this is actually medicine. It's called Kulturkraut. It's chewing gum. But it is a kind of medicine. It builds up your cultural muscle one pill at a time. And it is that effect and usage. This product is designed to strengthen your cultural resilience and provide an instant boost of creativity, community spirit, and joyfulness for use during periods of cultural drought or as a supplement to your daily cultural intake. And the dosage is 1 tablet daily or needed, especially after intensive doom scrolling. And but there is some side effects, so I just will warn you, because you can get an uncontrollable urge to learn juggling or take up pottery, or irresistible need to organize a local culture night. So, and don't mix with excessive individualism. So I want to give you this and thank for me.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you, panelists. It was a very nice discussion for me. I was really, really nervous, but thank you, God. It's well, I think. Can we make selfie all together? It was so good. And with you as well. Thank you. And then you can make, and then we can make, Julia, come to us. And then with the audience as well, please. Smile to your mothers. Yeah, thank you. And now Anna will make this fantastic workshop. Thank you one more time for the organizing of this panel, and thank you for the audience.